public and my students, this often happens, right? The logical thing is we lock up more people. We should reduce the crime rate because there are fewer people who are out on the street to commit crimes. What we have found, myself as a member of the National Academy of Sciences Committee on Incarceration, we studied the best data, and in fact, the impact that incarceration has on reducing the crime rate is quite marginal. And the more people you incarcerate, the even less of an impact it has on reducing the crime rate. And it actually may increase the crime rate because people who serve time in jail, the conditions in jail and prison may actually make people more criminogenic. And also you destabilize many communities by taking so many young people at the prime of their lives out of those communities. So one of the first things the public has to realize is locking more people up doesn't necessarily increase the safety of their communities, and it actually may decrease the safety of the communities, and that a better solution is to not lock people up in the first place. Now, does that mean that it's a perfect world where no one will go out and ever commit a heinous crime? No, that there's always that possibility, but we can never promise everybody a perfect world. If we wanted a perfect world, we would lock everybody up.
And there's like 750,000 people a year who get out of prison. They're tossed out on the street with stigma, without money, angrier and more alienated than they were before. They didn't get much treatment behind bars, so there's a lot of emphasis on re-entry right now as well. There should be. But in my view, there really has to be an emphasis on reduction of this out of control, bloated government bureaucracy that is causing, and it's unlike other types of government waste. I mean, if we have a contract to build a highway and it gets double billed, or air marshals, take air marshals for example, which it seems like now that the evidence is in has been a totally useless government program. They haven't committed any crime. There's been an average of 4 arrests a year. But it's relatively benign. People get jobs. No one really is harmed by it. Maybe there's a little bit of public safety. So it's more or less, it's wasteful. It's irresponsible use of taxpayer money, but it's not harming anyone. Prison is very different. It actually is. Most people think that it is responsible maybe for 10, 20% of reducing crime in the United States. There are many better, cost-effective ways to reduce crime, and we haven't done them, and we need to start kind of changing direction. There are signs that's happening, and there need to be changes at every level of the system. We need better indigent defense. We need fairer trials. We need a shift in our approach to addiction, toward thinking about it as a medical problem entwined with crime and poverty problem, rather than as a solely criminal justice issue. We need to think about better ways to let more people out of prison, especially as they pass beyond their criminal prime.
People age out of crime, so that the most criminogenic years, as I tell my students, is often the late teens and the early 20s. So locking somebody up for 30, 40 years for a crime that someone's done in their 20s doesn't socially, morally, financially make a whole lot of sense. What we also know is that someone who's committed a serious crime has been released. Usually 8 years after they've been released, their profile, the likelihood that they will commit another crime, is the same as someone who's never committed a crime before.
So I think that we're at the precipice of another great shift in society, where you have a small group of people who say this prison industrial complex is a human rights crisis. Something needs to be done. You have a large swath of people saying, oh, they're just criminals. We have to have prisons, right? But I have faith in that small voice of people who believe in humanity becoming louder and louder